Well, I don't know where to start, so let's just start, right? Pokemon Unite data mine leaks. This is from El Chico AV. Zoroark will be a 1-week release with only its skin. This means we can only buy the character with the skin, and you have to wait for it to become available with coins. This is a progression of the game having you unlock the Pokemon for 1 week, gems only. Now, this particular Pokemon, you can unlock 1 week, gems only as well. You have to buy it with the Hollowware. Sorry to just go right in on this, but I mean, you clicked on the video at this point and everyone is talking about this. So I think it's time for us to talk about this. I'm trying to even put it together where I want to start with this discussion, because I think I'm going to have, in some ways, the best take and in some ways the worst take about this. Pretty impressed that I decided that I'm going to have the best take, but you know what? That's what I said I'm gonna do. All right, let's go down worst case scenario rabbit hole with this, because I've seen people talking about how something like this is basically them saying, this game is dying, they are milking every dollar they can out of you, they're just gonna take money and close up shop. And let me be clear about something. That is totally possible. That's totally possible. That's possible without this happening. That's possible with this happening. We have no idea what their plans are for this game. One thing I can say for sure is that they are planning another season of their championship series, and their original timeline for this game was for it to be supported for, I believe, at least 5 years. So what does that mean? Who knows? Are we really going to see Zoroark, Sableye, and then the game is going to go away? Let's be clear that they could do that at any time. At any time, Pokemon could decide that they're just done with this side project of a game for them. It's not making them as much money as maybe they wanted. They wanted to get a foothold in the Chinese market, and they weren't able to accomplish that. And then they just cut ties and move on. Or, more likely, at least from my opinion, they're going to continue supporting this game. The reason they're going to continue supporting this game mainly is because they want to get into the Chinese market, and working with a Chinese developer on this game and supporting it for years will help them do that. And I think once they can get that, they unlock essentially the biggest market in the world for games. So that's, I believe, the end goal of Pokemon Unite. Get Pokemon to have a real foothold in the Chinese market and then continue to grow it from there, turning their already massive successful company into an even bigger success. Another thing that's clear when you see pricing like this is that the game is funded entirely by whales. There's no question that this game is only funded by whales. I would wager, and we'll never know, I don't think we'll ever have any way of knowing. We'll never know exactly what this game means for their company when it comes down to what percentage of the players are spending money. But I would guess this is very much like every free-to-play game you're seeing out there, where a small percentage, less than 5%, maybe even less than 3%, are spending all of the money inside Pokemon Unite. And because of that, they have this dilemma in front of them. The dilemma is basically this. They have two groups of players, your free-to-play players and your whales. You have something a little bit in the middle where they buy some battle passes and maybe a skin here or there. But for the most part, you've got two big groups, free-to-play and whales. Free-to-play, much bigger than whales, and whales much smaller, but they fund the entire game. So you need both. You need a healthy mix of both. What you need is a ton of people playing the game so that the people who are paying for the game essentially have a good experience while they are doing it, and you need incentives for the people who are playing the game for free to continue playing. Both of them have to work at the same time. If you create an environment where only the people who pay for things end up getting the most out of the game and the people who don't pay really can't compete, then you do create a situation similar to Mr. Who's the Boss was talking about, where people just realize if they don't pay, they can't win, and then they quit the game. So that's exactly where they are at with this. They have to have the whales feel like what they're paying for is nice, there's a prestige to it, and there's a reason that they want to fork over a lot of money. And you have to have the free-to-play players not feeling like anything that's happening is hurting their gameplay experience. So when you see a move like this, a progression from gems only for a week to gems only for a week, and you need to buy the Hollowware, who is this harming? Well, the answer is it's really harming the whales inside the game, and it's also making the free-to-play players feel bad. Everyone feels bad about this. Everyone I've seen, every single post, feels bad about seeing this pricing for this Pokemon. I'll throw a few things out there really quick. We don't know if this Pokemon is free with an event or not. We have no idea. Given this, I'm guessing it's probably not event free, but it totally could be still. I thought this Pokemon was going to be sort of part of their Halloween event and you would unlock quests and earn it for free. I could be wrong about that. I'm just guessing based on the timing of this Pokemon, the timing of their Halloween event. It doesn't mean that it is, but this Pokemon still could be free with an event. If this Pokemon is free with an event, honestly, this doesn't really bother me much at all. Basically, this would just be taking anyone who desperately needs Zoroark immediately and letting them play it, and then everyone else would unlock it in 5 or 6 days or something like that. I really don't think that's that big of a deal. I also think gem locking Pokemon for a week isn't that big of a deal to the player base, especially when things get released and some are really good and some are really not good. I don't think that's a huge deal. Let me talk about why this is a huge deal. The reason this is a big deal is because people don't like it. I know that's easy to, like, duh, Jake, but no, that's the thing. The reason this is a big deal is because people care about this as an issue. And I'm not saying they shouldn't. What I'm saying is, I was talking to my chat a little earlier about this, and I think this practice is not ideal, but I understand the game needs to make some money and they're clearly making it off whales. One thing clearly that was coming from the chat, and I agree with wholeheartedly, is processes like this, gem locking for a week, and now gem locking for a week with Hollowware, what it's doing is it's really taking the wind out of the sails of a new release. A new release used to be something that everyone could get excited for, and now we have this very weird timetable of, sorry microphone, of when people can be excited for a release. So if you're a free-to-play player, you kind of care about a new release, but then you kind of don't, because you can't even unlock it for a week. And then there are going to be people like me talking about it on YouTube, but you don't have a lot of connection to it because you can't even get fully invested in it. I think the real issue here, outside of this being a very expensive way to do this, I think the real issue is that when you gem lock Pokemon for a week, you kind of dampen the excitement of any new release that comes to the game. So my ice cold take that I think is right is I actually don't care about the pricing of this. The more I think about it, I think gem locking the Pokemon in general is essentially the same as what we're getting here. This just punishes the whales a little bit harder. The problem isn't this pricing, which is, yeah. The problem isn't this pricing. The problem is the overall practice of gem locking the Pokemon. And the biggest thing it does, I think, is it dampens the excitement around a new release. And that's something that they're going to have to figure out here. Because I do feel like every release that has been gem locked has in some ways been progressively less exciting for the game, just because you have so many people who can't participate in that Pokemon at all. If you're asking the richest of the player base to buy a Pokemon with a Hollowware, I don't think it's great. It doesn't look great. Everyone hates it. So it doesn't feel like a good decision. But actually the real issue here is gem locking these Pokemon. I think that's the real problem, because you're just taking so much of the player base and you're not giving them access to the new shiny thing. And you've got to find this delicate balance where the people who are funding the game feel like they're getting something, and the people who are not funding the game but are funding the game with their time, with being players inside the game, which is extremely important. It's not that they're not funding the game at all. They're participating in the lifeblood of the game. You need both of these groups. I think in general the gem locking is more of the problem, rather than it being that this Pokemon is very, very expensive. I'm happy to hear all of your opinions in the comments. I recognize that what I'm saying is not going to resonate with everyone, but I hope you hear what I'm trying to get through here, which is this sucks, but also this is not the big problem here. This is just the most egregious example of this problem that more than anything, I think outside of the money aspect of it, I just think it does hurt the excitement around a release. And man, I want releases to be exciting. And again, this video was filmed before we know if this Pokemon will be free with an event. This video is filmed before we know if this is final pricing or not. And this video is filmed before this Pokemon has been released and we know whatever we are going to know about this. I just wanted to weigh in because I see everyone talking about this and everyone's upset. And more than anything, if they're making a decision that's making so much of the player base upset, then that in and of itself is a problem, even if I personally don't think this is the biggest issue. Honestly, the pricing is bad, but if they're gonna get this money out of the whales who play the game, that can be a strategy that they take. More importantly for me, I just think in general, gem locking has hurt some of the excitement around these releases. But I'm blabbering at this point. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I appreciate you listening. Be cool to each other even if we disagree. And two things. For everyone participating in the giveaway, you're getting whatever this is. So yeah, I will give you the amount of gems, or PayPal the amount of gems that it takes to unlock this Pokemon. I said I'm giving away 5 Zoroarks. I'm still giving away 5 Zoroarks no matter what it costs. Unless it's like 5,000. Unless they change this price to like 85,000 gems. I can't do that. But in general, the giveaway still stands, and I'm still streaming this Pokemon on release, which I believe will be at midnight. Again, I would really love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Sound off, be cool to each other. I love you. Mwah! I didn't yeehaw. Yeehaw.